What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Hopsgeeknews, your home for comic books, movies, TV shows, and today we are going back into the world, the realm of the Grabber. We are going to go up to the mountains and we're going to discuss and spoil Black Phone 2. We will cover Black Phone 1, give a quick recap, but we are going to give our thoughts on Black Phone 2. Just recently came out.
We will have a spoiler warning before we go into spoilers, though, for Black Phone 2. So if you just want to listen to Black Phone 1, you're safe for now.
No, nobody's safe.
I'll make sure we're safe. I'll cut him off if he starts to spoil.
Fine. Yes. If this is your first time listening to the show, we like to talk about comic books, movies, TV shows, of course. We start off with what beer we're drinking, just to shout out a local craft brewery, perhaps. We go into some news, what we've been reading or watching, and then our main topic. So make sure you subscribe, like, share, follow, all that good stuff. Patreon.com/hopsgeeknews. On Halloween night, I will be hanging out with the homies and watching some Halloween movies, perhaps after the kids go trick-or-treating. That's what I got planned. Patreon movie nights typically. But I am drinking from KCBC, Kings County Brewers Collection, for you up there in Brooklyn, New York. It's called Venomous Villains. Pretty rad can. I chose it obviously because the Grabber, Ethan Hawke, it just fit the bill for tonight. So that's what I got. Lauren, what is it that you are drinking over there tonight?
So I'm drinking a Spotted Cow from New Glarus, nice. Courtesy of Pat, of course. One of our Patreons and big time in the Discord. I am like glancing over this can like crazy, trying to have it connect to the weirdly Grabber and the Black Phone. I'm like reading every detail. I'm like, how can I make this connect to the movie?
You grabbed that beer specifically. So.
I grabbed this beer out of the fridge. Perfect. Thank you, Matt.
Menacingly. Yeah.
I have it in a jack-o'-lantern. Well, it does snow in Wisconsin, and there is snow in the second movie.
All right. That was a bit of a stretch, but
it doesn't snow
anyways. Here? Let's go into what we've been reading or watching. So this week for our comic books on nerdinitiative.com, I did New History of the DC Universe issue number 4. It is the finale of this DC history by Mark Waid and crew. Hayden Sherman is on some of the colors as well. I think I read he did like over 100 distinct different characters in this book alone, which is incredible. It takes you basically from the New 52 to the current timeline. So there's only 4 books. If you really want to kind of get caught up on the history of the DC universe, what's all linear and what is canon and not canon, pretty solid stuff. I really enjoyed it. And the artwork is incredible as well. And then I did Absolute Wonder Woman issue 13. Kelly Thompson absolutely crushing this run. And we get a little bit more emotionality from Diana. This is kind of fitting because in this issue, she's being worn down and exhausted by some invisible foe. And she's also researching Themyscira, and her and Barbara's relationship grow closer together. And I've been really tired this week too. So I just felt like that was kind of fitting for this week's issue. Aside from that, Universal Monsters presents The Invisible Man issue 3. Jack is now, James Tynion is on Denis and Brad Simpson, I believe it is. I probably got that wrong. I apologize. It's been a long week and I don't have my notes fully in front of me, but it is really good. So Jack now is going to pretty extreme lengths. He gets a kid and he's doing trial and error on his new invisibility stuff on this kid, but he doesn't perfect it right away. So he's torturing this poor child. It's pretty kind of insane, actually. Aside from that, Sisterhood issue number 4, I messed up. I have to fix this. I just realized as I'm actually looking at it, it says Sisterhood Hyde Street Story number 5. I meant it's number 4. Split personalities. Now, this is the penultimate issue, essentially stating how, Violet has Sophie in jail, but now Violet pretty much takes over Sophie's body and is going to cause some pretty serious havoc. It wraps up with issue 5, and then 2 more.
And they don't even show us like what's going on when she does it, and it's crazy.
No, it's pretty good actually.
Glimpses.
I like that.
Yeah, it is good.
It's because when they do that, it's setting up.
What just happened?
Well, yeah, they're setting up essentially is like, hey, what just happened? Why? What is going on? It's that Blink thing, because they do more of that horror style setting up for the big finale of maybe they'll show us some things or not. I don't know, but I'm loving it so far, and absolutely great. Maytel Shoots, Layla Lies, Rob Lay, Alex Sinclair are killing it on there. And then Marvel Zombies Red Band issue 2, Ethan S. Parker, Griffin Sheridan are crushing that. This one is essentially New York City's now taken over. We start with Jean Grey getting picked up and taken to the X Mansion. However, fast forward, Cyclops is a zombie crawling on top of her and she blasts his head off, and it kind of goes from there. It's pretty gnarly, dude. This is crazy. But what gets even more gnarly is in Predator Kills the Marvel Universe number 3, Hulk starts to fight Kraven, and it's basically setting up Hulk tearing apart some Yautja and Predators. This is a very bleak issue. a very, very bleak issue, and it leaves you very much just depressed almost because Craven and the hunters and the king of the Yautja just lay waste to our city and the heroes that we know and heroes that we love. And it's pretty bleak outlook. I don't really know what they're going to do from here because some things go sideways. That's kind of what happens there. So that's what I have reviewed this week. I will talk about a TV show I got to watch here in a minute, but I'll let Lauren discuss her comic books real quick.
So I did The Last Wolverine #1. I did that with Megan from Vigilante Vibes podcast. So I had seen the cover and like people were saying, oh, it's Wendigo Wolverine. And I was like, well, that looks like Leonard from the recent Wolverine run that Saladin Ahmed and Martin Cocola have been working on that's still ongoing. And it's Leonard, but it's part of the Age of Revolution. So it's like a jump into the future, but we see how he became Wolverine because he was like a teenager who got cursed by the Wendigo virus and Logan wasn't giving up on him. And I actually really liked that storyline. I thought it was a fun little twist on like the Wendigo stuff. And so her and I reviewed that. And so they're setting it up, obviously, for a whole bunch of stuff going on in the Marvel Universe. So that's really cool. So if you want to get in on that, and you can enjoy this comic standalone, or of course you can get into a bunch of the Age of Revelation stuff. But I think it's going to be fun. Yeah. And it's also because like the Laura Kinney one that I reviewed recently ties into that. And so I got to see it's like a stoned Wolverine. And he was in Laura Kinney and he was in this too. So I was excited. And that's Logan Wolverine, not just Leonard Wolverine. But yeah, that was really good. And then I also did Hornsby and Halo. And so Hornsby and Halo is one I've been reviewing for a while with the Demon Child and the Angel Child. And they both end up in New York City and it's Halloween. It said they do
There's some High Street crossover, huh?
So you do see you see a little cameo in the background. And you know what else I noticed today? Because I had taken that picture and sent it to you. And then I was like, oh, shit. Oh, it's so hard to be PG sometimes. Oh, wow. I saw the little dog. It looked like the dog from Rockefellers was in the background, too.
Oh, that's cool.
So, yeah, that was fun.
I don't doubt that they have all sorts of, Easter eggs.
Yeah, little Easter eggs, yeah.
Yeah, why not?
But I think it's getting better. They're building up. So they ended this one on a good cliffhanger because there have been some issues that have been a little slower than others and more fast paced. But I feel like it's starting to pick up steam and they're getting more into what's going on. So I really like that issue. And again, it was a great Halloween issue, gorgeous art, whole bunch of jack-o'-lanterns. But it wasn't like part of the issue, but they made it completely relevant without taking away from the story and still getting to have it be a Halloween issue. So that's what I got. And then I didn't read, but I listened to my first audiobook ever.
Ew, gross. How is that?
So that's how I felt, but I listened to a documentary audiobook. So it was just like listening to a podcast. It was Future Boy by Michael J. Fox, and it was narrated by Michael J. Fox.
Does that have to do with Back to the Future?
Yeah, the whole thing's about Back to the
Future.
It's the
same. Okay, that makes sense. I mean, it's Michael J. Fox. It's about him, Future Boy. That would make a lot of sense.
Right, but at no point, like, to prove to you, like, how focused on just making the first Back to the Future movie it is, I don't even think at one point he even mentions Parkinson's or anything like that. Not that
I mean,
is
not
who
good.
He is,
not that that's a problem. Yeah, but no, like he doesn't. That's not his identity.
Exactly. I mean, he's brought an amazing face and done so much good for Parkinson's. But yes, that's not who he is. And so I thought that it was really cool. And what's interesting too is because I never do audiobooks, I always just read. Is that when he would mention somebody else, they would cut to that audio clip, or he would mention a scene. And all of a sudden we got
so it's like a podcast. Okay, that I could do that. That's like a podcast. That is something I could do.
Yeah, so I don't see myself being able to listen to fiction because I don't know. But I actually just started another kind of documentary book that, and that was only 3.5 hours. It was really kind of short. So it was like just driving the kids to and from school
Oh my God, 3.5 hours is just taking the kids to and from school. Jeez.
Well,
I know you have to wait for like an hour. Yeah, I know.
But yeah, so I read it pretty quick, but I also just started another one that is really kind of creepy. But I started in the car with Logan, and the first line is like, and Rosemary was raped and impregnated by the devil. And I'm like, pause, wait till the kids are out of the car.
Turn off, go upstairs. Don't come down here.
The other one I just started on audio is Scream With Me, Horror Films and the Rise of American Feminism from 1968 to 1980.
That sounds interesting.
It is interesting so far. So I will let you know how that pans out.
Documentaries, but typically when I'm
Future Boy
Carrie does audiobooks and we'll listen to it, I'm just like, this is painful. But then again, I listen to history podcasts, so what's more painful, I guess, to one person is not necessarily painful to the other.
So. But it was all his experiences on getting cast, dealing with the replacing of Eric Stoltz, things that happened then that could not happen today, what all that movie has meant to him since then, his relationship with Eric Stoltz today. Also like how he was treated because like he was suddenly this new guy. And so it was really kind of cool to hear his perspective through it all. But if you're a fan of Back to the Future, I highly recommend that one. So,
and his story is really good too. I feel like not just Back to the Future, but that cast is one that when they reunite, you can tell there's still so much love between them. And I don't know, it just makes me happy to see him still getting out there, you know, whether it's conventions or whatever it may be. He's not confined to just his house. He really gets out there and tries to still be a part of this fandom for the fans and do things for it.
Right. And it's so crazy how you don't know what you're making when they're making it. Like it's always fascinates me to listen to what goes behind these things that are now cultural phenomenons. It's like,
it is interesting, right? Do you, do they sometimes, I think you can tell kind of when a movie's probably not going to be the best.
They said they had no idea. And what's funny too is to hear everybody hated working with the DeLorean because DeLoreans are apparently really crappy cars.
They are. Oh, there's a reason why they don't get made. Yeah.
So if it weren't for that movie, I feel like nobody would even know what a DeLorean is except for people who are super into cars.
Yeah, well, AMC has a DeLorean popcorn bucket that's dropping with their Back to the Future re-release, which I think is pretty cool. I'm not going to go get that. Or they have another DeLorean being dropped with Lego, which I thought was pretty cool. I don't care enough about the DeLorean. I don't really want to have the popcorn bucket or Lego, but I think that's cool at the same time. Just like they have a Goonies Lego set dropping that I think is phenomenal and looks really dope. I'm not going to buy it because I'm like out of space and there's really only one big set that I want to get. I'm at the point where I need to start rotating things out as the seasons change.
Or just put up more shelves.
I could do that. Well, I have some space. And like, if you got anybody who visits, they probably bonk their head. I don't know. We'll see.
You gotta be. I mean, you've seen my bar area, so. But I need to buy a mini DeLorean. I saw a really cute thing where somebody took a Christmas train around the tree and they put the DeLorean in front of the train, like in the third movie. Cool. And I'm like, oh, that's cute.
That's a good idea. See, that is cool. That is cool. If it was the kids actually. Funny enough, the kids did not want to watch Jaws, but when we watched Back to the Future, they were enamored. And then they were right away is there another one? And I was, there's two more.
The second one's even better. That's my favorite.
We haven't watched the other two yet, but they loved Back to the Future 1, which is a complete shock to me. I didn't think they would. And they were absolutely in the bag. So I think
used to call it flying car movie.
It's fair. I think it's in the future, but I do want to talk about something real quick that I got to watch. It's HBO's It, Welcome to Derry. Season 1, or I hope it's just season 1. It's the series premiere. Premiered last night by the time this drops, and it is good. I've seen the first 5 episodes. Holy smokes. I don't think people are absolutely ready for what this series is, what this show is. And I've only seen 5 episodes. There's still 3 episodes I haven't seen, and I have to wait till either they probably send them. I don't think they will because Peacemaker didn't send the last
until
3.
It aired. Yeah.
Yeah. Or I got to wait until November, December sometime because it wraps up in the middle of December. But wow. Andy Muschietti did The Flash. So people were like, oh no, ew. But he also did It, chapter 1 and 2 most recently. And now he's returned and he's written with Barbara, his wife, I believe, this series. It is horrifying. It is very gory. It leans into Stephen King lore very heavily. There's a lot of really cool crossover tie-ins with not just Pennywise and It, but other properties at the same time. There is a kind of side plot that ties into the main plot, and episode 1 just premiered, and I'm not going to spoil it, but Jesus, was the end of episode 1. I texted Sean from Metalcore Nerds right away because he's got screeners as well. And I was like, did they just do this? And he goes, yeah. And I was like, this wasn't fake or anything. He goes, no. And I would just kind of sat there like, oh my God, that is bleak. Damn. They really go some places and right off the bat, and it doesn't slow down. It's really freaking good. Oh my God. I hope this weekend when I'm there, I'll bring my laptop. You got to at least watch episode 1.
Well, I can watch it Sunday night. Yeah. Well, not Sunday night, but yeah, I have HBO. But Brielle actually.
Oh my God. It's so good.
Brielle had actually just put on It chapter 1 out there. The one with, she's like, oh, it's Mike from Stranger Things. And when the clown bit off Georgie's arm, she was like, oh my God, they just did that. Like, so she was shocked.
Oh, dude. Oh, we need to watch episode 1 together then. So yes, very, very good. Now, I also watched that R.L. Stine Pumpkinhead movie. Talk about a bleak
what was that?
Okay.
I really thought y'all were talking about the beer in the
I was sitting there thinking that this was just a funny kid, R.L. Stine. It's a short story or book. I'd never read it. So this kid, him and his family, his brother, his mom, and him moved to this farm town. There's some mystical pumpkinhead that makes noise and talks. There's like a face on it. And then this kid's an a-hole. He steals it. His brother goes to give it back, and then his brother becomes a sacrifice. And so they ended up trying to figure out what's up with this pumpkin head. It's, there's a sacrifice. The town gets prosperous through farming. Now spoilers ahead. 3, 2, 1. The movie ends essentially. So when the brother got given as a sacrifice, everybody pretty much, it's been a long thing where the town forgets that kid. So it's happened a lot of times. The town forgets the kid. So everybody forgets his brother. Well, this one little girl and this guy who turns out to be the farmer's son and the a-hole kid at the end, they save the day. Woohoo. Well, it turns out the kid was still touching the pumpkin thing at midnight. So he swapped places with his brother and the pumpkin thing is gone in ashes. His family forgot him. He goes, oh yeah, he goes to talk to his family. They forgot who he was. They're like, who is this little boy? Why is he talking to me? And I was like, oh, just part of the movie. It'll clear up in 2 seconds. They're going to remember. No, the movie ends with this little kid, the little girl who no longer has a dad because the dad was the bad guy and got killed, and this adult dude who was the son of the other bad guy sitting there. And they're basically just like, oh, that's tough. That's tough, And then it's the three of them now. This kid doesn't have a family anymore, and this girl doesn't have a dad anymore. And that's how they end the fucking movie.
But I feel like I remember R.L. Stine books ending like that. Like always ending on like a woo. Like it was same with Are You Afraid of the Dark? I feel like the same kind of thing. They used to always leave things open.
They did, but there's no sequel. That's it.
I know, but I feel like that's how the books were. I mean, I haven't read an R.L. Stine
I haven't read this one. Goosebumps typically at least had some sort of like happier ending sometime, most of the time.
I know. I feel like Goosebumps still would sometimes like leave it with just like one little, like that laughing monkey kind of thing or whatever. But yeah. I honestly thought you and Stacey were talking about drinking Pumpkinhead and watching an R.L. Stine movie. And then when I saw your reel, I was like, oh, that's the name of the movie.
That's the name of the movie. And it ended. It had me kind of messed up. I was like, wow, I thought this was like, haha, childish Hubie Halloween type movie for kids kind of deal. No, that was depressed. I just, all right. Wow, that's how we're at. Okay. Sad. All right, I guess.
What are you going to do?
I don't know. Do you have anything else before we go into news?
Gen V wrapped up.
I've seen people pretty upset about that.
I don't know why.
I've seen people say that they were upset with how this season wrapped up. I don't know what happened. I'm behind, but yeah, I liked it. All right. Yeah.
I thought they did a great job of wrapping up this season, wrapping up a lot of the mystery we've learned about.
I'm only mad because I know that
setting up for the boys.
Stupid ass SpongeBob, Ariana Grande's no longer boyfriend. They're just waiting for the movie to come out so they don't have to pretend they're together anymore. Ethan, whatever, who left his wife for her, and now we all knew this was coming kind of deal. He's the bad guy.
Was Godolkin.
Yeah. Oh my God. No wonder it fits. The shoe fits. But I saw you post
know that by now.
No, I'm on episode 6, I think. Maybe.
Oh, my bad. Well, I feel like you can. So I guess really Kripke said he was upset that people figured that out, but you can see, like, you knew who he was. You knew who the actor was. Like in the very first episode, you see him. Because you see him and you see his medical tag, and then you can see in his eyes like who he is. But okay, I don't want to say any more for anybody who hasn't watched. But there was one.
Well, I've already spoiled who he is.
There is something I did not like at all in the finale. I absolutely hated it. It was a typical trope. I did put that in my review because I did a review on Nerd Initiative. My review is full of spoilers, so if you're behind, do not go read it. If you have caught up, head to nerdinitiative.com and check that out. Daryl Dixon also wrapped up. I think I probably talked about that last week because that wrapped up last Sunday. I think so, yeah. But they will be doing another season of that. But Kripke has said they have plans for season 3, and Gen V will take place 6 months before The Boys comes back. So we're going to fast forward 6 months, and we will be back in The Boys universe. So I really liked it.
We're going to get how The Boys ends, and then we're going to rewind?
No, I think they'll keep going in the future. So they wrap just like how we had Gen V. Like these are all dropping chronologically.
So Gen V season 3 has to drop before season 5 of The Boys, which is going to come out in June.
Gen V season 2 just ended. 6 months from now is when The Boys season 5 will take place.
That's what I was talking about. So that means they're going to say season 3 takes place 6 months before season 5?
No, season 3 will then take place after season 5.
Oh,
did I say the wrong season?
You said yes. That's why I was confused. You said season 3 will take place 6 months before The Boys. That's why I was confused.
Season 2. Yeah, okay. So The Boys takes place 6 months after season 2. My bad.
I was very confused. I was like, what? So we're going to see how it all plays out, and then we're going to go pretend
I did
like
say it in a confusing way to begin with. And I said the wrong season. That's on me.
Woof. All right. Well, let's go into some news real quick. Now,
less confusing.
Shrinking is back January 28th through April 8th with season 3. This was a bit of a surprise to wake up to. I woke up and they announced it, and I'm excited. This is my therapy show. I love this show so much. And I think what's his name? Jeff Daniels is also in this upcoming season. So you already know like he's going to bring the sadness. Harrison Ford's going to bring the oh my God. I'm not emotionally prepared, but I love the show so freaking much.
It is a fantastic show.
It is.
So Ryan Coogler is rebooting the X-Files for his mom. That's very sweet.
I am kind of on board for that. I like Ryan Coogler. I think he can do some cool stuff.
Yeah, I've never seen X-Files.
What? I feel what? Really? Even I've seen X-Files. Not all of it, but I've seen part. Really? What? I
don't know why you're so shocked.
I don't know either. I guess because it was a 90s show that I feel like you would have watched because it was, I don't know, that and Friends were like the two big shows of the 90s.
But Friends was a sitcom. Like I was never home when I was younger. Like it was always extracurriculars and stuff. And so like you couldn't get into a show where you had to watch it every week if you weren't going to be home. I remember being so confused when I would watch Friends. I'm like, are Ross and Rachel together now? When is this the last time they broke up? Like I didn't get it until they released them all on DVDs.
We're older than everybody in Friends was at that point. And it's also depressing. So anyways, Sinners is coming back 25. To select IMAX theaters for Halloween. Go see this. Oh my God. Catch it in IMAX if you can. This movie's so good. It's like the best horror movie of the year, man. And it's like top 3 movie of the year, period. So go see that.
I really liked it, but I think I liked Phone 2 more.
We will have to rank at the end of Halloween, like rank our horror, or at the end of the year, I guess, is really when we'll rank all like movies. But there's a lot of good horror movies this year. I want you to watch Weapons because I think.
Oh, I do need to watch Weapons. There was something else.
I have it on digital, actually. I could. That's something if we're finding ourselves at the house drinking beers, looking for something to put on. I have it on digital.
Is that a horror movie?
Yeah.
Okay,
it's got Wong in it. It's really good. It's really good. Brielle can watch that one. That one isn't Brielle. It's one that she would be able to watch.
It's not Terrifier. Okay.
No. Oh no, she would be able to watch that one as well.
Yeah. My number one's gonna be Superman. I can already tell you that. But
oh yeah, I mean, I think it is too. That movie I watched 7 times. So speaking of horror, filming for the Crystal Lake Friday the 13th prequel is wrapped filming for, I believe, is Apple or it's A24. Excuse me, A24 has.
A24, yeah.
It just shows that his mom is missing his swim lessons.
I mean, what else could the prequel be about?
I mean, isn't the prequel just redoing Friday the 13th 1 because the prequel is kind of like him dying and then his mom taking revenge and then getting her head cut off? That was my
edit. That was my opinion. It's just his mom missing the swim lessons because if he knew how to swim, he wouldn't have drowned at summer camp. Because you don't send your kid to summer camp when they can't swim if it's on a freaking lake. Yeah. It's called Crystal Lake.
Not even that, but like we did get the prequel though. Come on, the prequel is the first movie of the franchise because the mom, we know. So that's kind of that. Are they just rehashing it because they can't put Jason, actual hockey mask Jason in because of rights, I guess. I don't know. But also, yeah, his mom was, what was she doing? Why are you so upset? You sent him without being able to swim. And also, not for nothing, you sent him in the 80s and he was deformed. Like, you knew your child was probably bullied, and I get what you were probably trying to do is just take a break for yourself. Was he
deformed before he drowned and became a monster?
Yeah, I think so.
Guess we'll find out in the prequel.
Yeah, I don't know. Anyways, what's this next one? This is exciting.
There's a Screamboat sequel coming called Screamboat 2. Nothing.
Who could have seen that coming? We could have if you stayed for the extra credits. I'm excited. Do you think
Peg-Leg Pete comes back?
All right. If they premiered at MegaCon this year and they come back, I will sit there and wait. I will legitimately I will be front row waiting for this one. That's worth the wait.
Whistling?
Oh, yeah. That's what I'm talking about. And that's actually all the news we kind of have because you've already talked about this Boys Gen V. I don't have anything else. Way. Yeah, it was kind of confusing. So we are going to, be right back, talk about Black Phone 1 real quick, kind of give you the rundown, all that good stuff. And then, then we'll go into spoilers for Black Phone 2. So we'll BRB. We back. Black Phone 1 first came out in 2021. I remember seeing it in theaters, actually. It was so good. I was super into this movie right away. It's directed by Scott Derrickson, written by Joe Hill, Scott Derrickson, C. Robert Cargill, starring Mason Thames, who is also Hiccup. Yes, I forgot his name for a second. I'm sorry. Hiccup from How to Train Your Dragon. Madeline McGraw and Ethan Hawke are in this. Ethan Hawke, terrifying. Absolutely terrifying. So we'll start with the recap of the film. Spoiler alert if you've not seen Black Phone 1, but I mean, if you're here and you haven't, then here you go, I guess. It's North Denver in 1978, and we're at a Little League baseball game where Finney is almost about to strike out his opponent until he hits a home run. After the other kid, Bruce, tells him it was a good game, and he almost had him with his mint arm, later we see Bruce on his bike, and then that's when a black van appears. Bruce has now gone missing. Finney's little sister, Gwen... Oh, what's up? You said...
No, you're good.
Oh. Now, Finney's little sister Gwen dreams about black balloons. The detective learns of her dreams and wants to talk to her because there were 2 balloons at the scene. During the talk, the detective tries not to laugh at Gwen, being very matter of fact. She also definitely is on the spectrum because she cusses like very funny. It's more funny in this one because they're younger than the second one, but she still upholds it in the second one.
Yeah.
And, sometimes she says that her dreams are right. This is where we meet the dad of Finney and Gwen. They're scared of dad because he's a drunk. He's an alcoholic, abusive father. They lost their mom. And also, it was not long ago that hitting your child with a belt was not really abuse at all. You could do that. Ask my parents. Even if it very much
so abuse, but it wasn't like looked. Because the only reason
it was like a normalcy for people, I guess,
Yeah, again, but I added that in there because the dad is not a terrible human being.
No, so the dad, the mom
right now,
died, and we don't really know anything about the mom dying. We just know that the dad is an alcoholic at this point. He does try, but he obviously has, it's the 80s, man. It's unresolved trauma. All right. First of all, and he's a single dad and he's working hard for the money, all that kind of stuff. So I'm not excusing his alcoholic abusive tendencies. However, it was the 80s, man.
Close, yeah. 78.
So she can feel the pain. Think about what she did. Robin.
Yeah, he's like, don't ice that ass or butt, whatever he said.
She wants to feel it. Robin's a tough kid who helps, in a fight. He holds up very well in fights. He's really kind of a badass, honestly, and fends off Finney's bullies. And then he sees the van. So why don't you take it from there and tell us, kind of carry us on.
So now that Robin's disappeared, Gwen is praying for more dreams to get some answers. Finney actually then sees the grabber, which he's just a weird dude at this point. He drops some eggs and then he grabs Finney, and we see him use the balloons to hide Finney while he's putting him in the van. So that is why he has those. Then he puts up a fight and actually cuts his arm with a little rocket ship that he carries around.
Suddenly, they were young in this movie. I forgot how little they looked compared to like the second one, even though it was 3 years difference.
Oh, see, I watched the first one Saturday morning and then went straight to the theater. So
fair.
to me, fair. It was...
Yeah, you're right.
But he wakes up in the basement and there's just a bed, a toilet, and a disconnected phone. Bruce calls the disconnected phone and tells Finney about a loose tile to Shawshank himself out of the basement. Bruce runs out of time, though, and ends up hanging up. He didn't remember his own name, but Finney knew who he was. He also tells Finney he has a mint arm.
There's some really, it's... these kids from the spiritual side. And it is interesting because they can't remember who they are, how they kind of got there. There's a lot of that kind of stuff, which was interesting, but I loved the connection with the kids and how they help Finn out throughout this movie. And there's the little, connections between them, such as having a mint arm, things like that, just kind of tie it into the film very cleverly through the writing for me. And I think that's
signs.
Yeah. Well, that too. And it's just really good writing, the way they kind of did it, because obviously this town, there's been kids going missing for a long time.
Well, do you know who the guy is that wrote the short story that this movie's based on? Stephen King's son.
Oh, no way. Interesting. Yeah. I had no idea. I didn't even know his son wrote stories at all. Interesting.
I think his daughter does, and so does his wife. They all do.
I mean, why not? Family business.
Yeah, I mean, if you got the natural talent and you got the power to have a dad to hook you up with the right publisher, yeah. I'm sure it's also a struggle to like make your own way too and define yourself.
Oh, you got to set yourself apart. Yeah, big time.
And you don't always know because like Michael Jordan's kids ain't out there balling. So Gwen has a nightmare of Finney banging on a door. So in the middle of the night, she gets out on her bike and goes to see if she can find the house, but she has no luck.
Meanwhile, the grabber is bringing Finney food, leaves the door unlocked. The phone rings and Finney is told not to go up the stairs. It's Billy this time, who is the paper boy. He gives another tip to escape: the cable. Find the cable and try to pull yourself up the window. Yeah, so essentially there's little nods and things in this that kind of indicate different tricks that the grabber is using. So his mask, he has different masks. This one, when he's being his quote unquote nice self, has a smile on his creepy ass mask. And he's doing this stuff because he wants to basically test the boys and if they try to escape, he beats them. Essentially, it's pretty messed up. It's kind of like giving himself a reason in a weird roundabout way to abuse these boys and stuff.
Can't
And it's
punish
really
them
dark.
unless they've been naughty.
Yeah, it's really dark, actually. So now, at this point, Gwen has another dream about Billy, and then this time she sees the grabber. Gwen inherited this gift and slash curse from her mom, who we learn eventually killed herself because of the dreams, which is why the dad hates the dreams so much. Makes sense. And then you can see that the dad loves his kids. However, he's unresolved trauma, man, but he's not desperate enough to find his son. And
no, he is desperate.
Oh, he is desperate. Excuse me. Now he's very desperate to find his son,
daughter.
not lose his daughter. So he's driving Gwen around looking for the house. At this point, the cops end up canvassing the neighborhood where they meet Max, who was working on a case of his own in, Charlie from Always Sunny Philadelphia way, just like, it's all connected. Pepe Silva. He's all coked up. Max is determined to crack the case, to which the cops leave and indicate that they see the coke on the table.
They're like, you might want to clean up, and they look like at the coke.
Staring right at it. And as they leave, the camera pans below Max, and that's when we see Finney in the basement. Max must be the reason why the grabber can't bring Finney food all the time. He has to wait. It's pretty, it gets interesting.
So cut to the grabber, who's complaining that everything is different this time. He asks Finney his name, and Finney ends up lying. This angers the grabber, as he already knows all about him because it was published in the paper, and he knows that name is complete BS. Now it is the middle of the night, and Finney, I would say this is the scariest part of the movie.
Oh, yeah.
Finney hears dripping, and it is a huge jump scare because all of a sudden you see a dead boy hanging upside down doing the wheel yoga pose, but also floating in midair. The drip was from blood dripping off of the kid, and then he points to the phone as the phone rings. This time it is Griffin. On the phone, he says the brother will find out soon, meaning Max, and he tells him he doesn't have much time. Griffin then explains the whole naughty boy thing where the grabber has these sick rules where like he needs you to do something to try to escape so that he can punish you and call you naughty. The grabber can't beat you if you don't play the naughty boy game. So he also tells Finney that the grabber is sleeping, and he gives him a code for the lock on the front door. It was Griffin's bike lock, which is why he knows the code, and the code he wrote on the wall. However, he just wrote out like 5 or 6 numbers, so it's not clear if like the 2 and the 4 are 24 or, all that. So so Finney does figure out the code. He gets out, he runs, the grabber catches him and knocks him out.
Yeah, this is when we see Gwen wake up and yelling, Jesus, what the F? Because she didn't have a dream.
Similar to Jesus with the
wheel. Back in the basement, the disconnected phone begins to ring, and this time it's Vance Hopper. He tells Finney that today is the day. Very ominous. Gwen is suddenly inside what seems like Vance's memory inside of a cop car. After a kid messed up his arcade score, he beats him and carves 7741 into his arm, which is why he was in a cop car. It's an address. Ooh. Meanwhile, Finney is working on his latest tip. Dig above an outlet near the toilet. That will get you inside the freezer. This works until he can't get out of the freezer and he's surrounded by meat. He starts crying in defeat to when the phone rings again. It's Robin this time who actually remembers him, and he says he's with him. A man never leaves his friends behind, just like his dad did in Nam. He didn't come home because he couldn't leave his friends behind. And today's the day that Finn has to start standing up for himself, something he told him when he was still alive from beyond the grave. Robin then trains him and tells him he's going to use the phone as a weapon and packs it with dirt. This is emotional. This sequence right here is really emotional because Robin is probably like the freshest victim, so to speak. So the longer they've been dead, at this point I was guessing essentially.
Because they said the first thing you forget is your name.
Yeah. And so it's crazy because then Robin talks about, how their dad passed away. So the brother passed, the dad passed. This family is just absolutely stuck tragic ways, unfortunately. But it's really cool because he teaches Finn how to fight back now. And you kind of get this, all right, we got badass time getting ready to go.
So we then see Gwen on her bike chasing down the address. She sees like all of a sudden the 5 boys that are dead just show up right in front of her, and she crashes in front of the house. So she sees the house from her dream, rushes home, and she calls the detective. Meanwhile, the grabber goes to the store to buy a tarp like all good little serial killers do right before they're going to off somebody.
Of course they do. Nothing suspicious here.
I know, I'm just painting. While out shopping for murder supplies, Max suddenly has an epiphany, and he goes down to the basement and sees Finney. Unfortunately, it takes too long for him to have an epiphany. He's all coked up. What are you going to do? The grabber walks in on this, and he kills his own brother right as he opens the door. The grabber is not happy he had to do that, and he tells Finney, quote, he was an idiot, but he was my idiot, end quote. Such a sibling thing to say because serial killers are just like everyone else.
Apparently so, man. Now, the grabber makes a comment about how he'll finally find the missing boys he looked so hard for. The cops believe Gwen, and then... Oh, yeah, right.
I love that the cops believe Gwen. I actually really liked that.
Yeah, so they didn't... This is probably one of the first times in a movie the cops take somebody seriously who say they have.
It's like, we're going to try every lead. She knew about the balloon. Let's just, what does it hurt?
Yeah. The house appears empty, unfortunately. So back to the grabber, and he has his giant dog with him. The grabber goes toward Finney, and he gets home alone, essentially, where he trips over the cable that Finney had dug up. Then he uses all of the tips that the boys have given him, his mint arm, with Robin's training. He helps to punch him, and then he chokes him with the phone cord. The phone begins to ring, and it's the boys talking shit to the grabber. Great scene again. You're just like, woo, you're hype at this point.
Revenge moment.
Yeah, Finney elbows him with his mint arm. The grabber is out cold. He then throws the dog some meat from the open freezer and walks up the stairs. The house the cops were in was not where the basement was, but it was the graveyard for the boys, as it turns out. Finn suddenly walks out across the street from where the boys are buried. This is when Gwen runs to him. The house was right across the street the whole time. So in a roundabout way, the cops believed her, and they got led to where the boys were, and she didn't mislead the cops at all.
No, she didn't at all. Yeah.
Yeah. And so the dad shows up, starts to cry and apologizes. And now Finn, is back at school months later. He's a badass. And he tells the girl that he likes to call him Finn. So
he's no longer Finney. He's now.
Yeah. So I do remember seeing this in theaters, and I loved it. I thought it was a very good supernatural roller coaster kind of a ride. It was spooky, but also there was very good triumphant moments. There was a lot of good action, but the way everything kind of tied together was really well done in that regard. So I'm very interested to see what your thoughts are, because you didn't see it and you didn't know anything about it until you watched it, which I thought is pretty cool, because to avoid spoilers for something for so long.
Right. Yeah. Josh and Brielle watched it when it came out. They didn't see it in the theaters. They saw it here. And like Brielle told me the premise of the phone, like when it came out, and I was like, I don't know. It's about dead kids. I'm not really in a rush to watch it. You already watched it.
Yeah. Carrie's like that. She didn't want to watch it because of the kid aspect.
Yeah. And I was honestly like, because this was, what year is it? This was 4 years ago. So Brielle was probably like 10 when she watched it with Josh. And so I was like, Dad let you watch that movie? But then, she's great with horror. She doesn't get nightmares like I occasionally.
That's interesting, because Oliver's about to be 10. So I'm like, I can't picture him watching something like this, because that kid is a scaredy cat.
I had the movie or the book I read, theme music. I think I might have told you. I had a dream, like I was reading the book and I put it down, and like somebody in the book is decapitated. And I had a dream I was on the Kilimanjaro safari ride at Animal Kingdom, and the decapitated head was just like there next to one of the
just hanging out, just ride. Hanging around.
Yeah.
Just hanging around. All right, sweet.
But so Brielle apparently doesn't get those dreams. At least she doesn't wake me up if she doesn't. I feel like she would. No,
there's
really
always
liked it
one in that family. That's me. Like, I love horror. My family could not care less. They get freaked out. But me, I'm all about it.
Well, if it weren't for The Walking Dead and Supernatural, I don't know that I would have gotten. Well, and you and Brielle. But I really like the supernatural aspect. I love that all the failed attempts were not failed attempts. They were just preparing him for that. So I really did like that.
Yeah,
especially
that was
like
really cool.
The meat from the freezer, like for the dog. Like I thought that was really cool. Yeah, no, I thought it was really good. I enjoyed it a lot more than I expected to.
Yeah, and the twist at the end, which the twist being that he was across the street, so the grabber essentially had two houses, which I thought was interesting. Like, what job do you have in the 80s to own two houses? Because boy, times are tough these days. Ain't nobody affording two houses in this economy. But
his brother couldn't even afford one. He had to move in with him.
Right? Yeah, maybe. Yeah, his subletting to his brother, which who knows? And I wonder what his actual job was, because he owned two houses and didn't seem to have work, or he was a clown. I don't know. Anyways, we find out in the second movie what his first job was, but that's neither here nor there. Now, Ethan Hawke was terrifying in this movie. His voice was, and he really acted well with his eyes, because his face is covered essentially the entire movie. And after every take, that Mason Thames, who played Finney, said that Ethan Hawke would ask him if he was all right. He would give him a noogie on the head. And I like that, because you always wonder for these horror things, like, are the kids, how are these kids doing during this? Because, it's pretend, a lot more pretend than what we're seeing on screen. But still, it's got to be kind of terrifying. And for a lot of the younger
some actors
kids,
want to do like method. Like, I feel like that's not cool to do with little kids that are scared.
No,
but like I've seen the outtakes of it, and like the guy's like, "All right, got kids, you guys ready to like kill me and get all scared or whatever?" And he's high.
Oh yeah. Because I love that, because it's really incredible that, Bill Skarsgård and Ethan Hawke, they can snap into these terrifying roles, but then as soon as the camera's off, they're just making the kids feel great and really helping them out. That's really cool.
Yeah, and honestly, we don't need genuine scared faces off of anybody. We don't need to traumatize people. They need to be able to act, or they shouldn't be in the horror movies. Yeah.
This isn't The Shining, like we're not out here terrifying. What's her name?
Right, exactly. I was just going to say, I was trying to think of her name. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it Shelley Long, or did I make that up?
Maybe. Speaking of which, I just watched some movie that I think it's called Borderline with Jack Nicholson's son in it, where he's he's got borderline personality issue, I guess. And Samara Weaving is a pop star in the 90s. And he gets out of jail and he's obsessed with her. And they think they dated at a point.
From Greece.
There you go. But yeah, anyways, he plays it really well. He reminds me of his dad with the smiling and stuff he does. It's a interesting movie. But
it's funny to see all these kids coming. Wendy Torrance is her name. I don't know how I got the two of them confused.
I don't think
she's olive oil too, I believe. Okay.
Yeah.
What I loved, like Bill Pullman's son, like all these kids that are coming of age now that, their parents were big superstars. If they have the talent, like I get it. You got the talent and the connection.
I get nepotism, but also the modern society, it doesn't matter if you're acting or if it's just, a job at a corporation. It's all about who you know.
I was gonna say, yeah, the fact of the matter is like if you can set your kid up, like you're gonna do everything you can to do that.
As a parent, you want your kid to be successful.
Maybe don't bribe colleges to get your kid in. That's not a good idea.
I don't think you need to bribe the colleges, but I would bribe a producer, I guess. I don't know. But not for nothing, but Lewis Pullman, he is a really good actor. So some of these people are really good actors. Now, not everybody's a Jaden Smith, for example. Will Smith, Jaden Smith kind of example. There are some legitimately good actors, kids out there, and I don't care about the nepotism. Listen, I don't care because I wish I had
Pursuit of Happiness. That might be the only thing I've seen him in. I thought he was.
It might have been, but so little. Anyways, the Paperboy is a reference to Johnny Gosch, a paperboy from Iowa who was en route with his dog Gretchen and disappeared back in the year 1982. His dog was found later, but Johnny's disappearance remains unsolved to this day, and he was one of the first kids to show up on a milk cart. It's depressing.
Yeah.
That's sad.
So Ethan Hawke's not really a fan of horror, and he had to be convinced to take this role, and this was not the first time he had to be convinced. He did Sinister too, and he had to be convinced to do that role. So he's also a villain in Moon Knight. This movie
is doing pretty well.
I had mentioned this before, is based on a short story by Joe Hill, the son of Stephen King. In the story, the grabber is actually a clown, but Joe Hill suggested in this post-Stephen King It world that they couldn't keep that and they should instead switch him to a magician. So he's a magician, not a clown.
Oh, smart. Now, it was originally going to be released in January, but it was getting good early screenings, so they changed it to a summer release. Again, why not just release it during Halloween? But whatever. Executive producer Jason Blum from the House of Blum sent Scott Derrickson a black phone in a display case after reading the script and giving the film the green light. Derrickson moved into a new house in 2021, and Blum had secretly, put a mounted black phone on the wall of the new house's basement. I was just sitting in my living room and I heard a phone ring in the basement. And I was like, oh my God, he discovered at that point that Blum had it set to speed dial his cell phone whenever it was lifted from the cradle. That is the kind of prank that I live for. When we're talking pranks, that's what I want.
So in the movie, Finney is watching The Tingler from 1959. Scott Derrickson included this scene because this is actual movie inspired him to be a horror director, and he remembered the scene freaking him out as a kid.
I don't even know what that movie is. Have you seen it? Do you know what that is?
No, but you remember the Finney's watching a horror movie, he's like staring at the TV, and it looks like there's a tub full of spaghetti sauce, and a hand like comes out.
Oh yeah. I think that's what inspired the Nightmare on Elm Street from the. Actually, now that you mention it, I could be just making that up because it has a similar scene where he puts his
that makes sense. So you're talking 2 generations ago of probably more than that of like horror actors. So it makes sense that the horror actors today were inspired by her before. Yeah. You know what I mean? But you're making horror. You've probably seen like every horror movie.
Very true. Now, this movie was shot in only 33 days, which I think is very impressive. It's a very good movie for how little it was shot. And Ethan Hawke actually dressed up as the grabber for Halloween in 2022. He leaned into it.
Man. Do that. And then you have Paul Rudd, who dresses as Weird Al while his daughter is Wasp.
I know, but I love that.
It is funny.
I love Paul Rudd. Okay,
Who doesn't?
That's the dad we aspire to be. As long as there's nothing weird to come out at some point about him, like Bill Cosby.
I'd be shocked.
Me too, but
yeah, I'd be shocked, Paul Rudd. All right, so the grabber uses black balloons to abduct his victims. This is reminiscent of the painting the daughter does on her bedroom wall in Sinister in 2012, which feature a figure holding black balloons by the same writer and director Scott Derrickson, also starring Ethan Hawke.
I've never seen that movie.
Ethan Hawke.
It's Ethan
I
Hawke.
haven't
Okay.
either, but now I feel like I
He was
should.
once married to Uma Thurman, and they made a baby, and that baby is Maya Hawke from Stranger Things.
Brielle has to remind me of that every time. I'm like, yeah, I was aware of Ethan Hawke and
dude, good for Ethan Hawke.
and Uma Thurman
in the
before.
90s was a snack, dude. Oh my god, Uma Thurman as Poison Ivy.
She was in Dexter. She's still in the new season of Dexter. She still looks great.
Good for her. Good for him. Good for them. Now, the brother Max was added to give the audience a break from the intensity of the movie. It makes sense to kind of, I do like that, because this whole time the brother was kind of investigating, and it happened right under his nose, which that was the only thing happening under his nose.
I was going to say. Well, and that throwing him in for giving the audience a break sets up the sequel.
It does. Oh man, now, spoiler alert, we are going to dive into the sequel Black Phone 2 now, which again, Scott Derrickson did. And again, see Robert Cargill, Scott Derrickson, Joe Hill. It stars Mason Thames, Ethan Hawke, Madeline McRaw. Now, Finn, who's now 17 years old, is struggling with life after his captivity. His sister begins receiving calls in her dreams from the Black Phone and seeing a disturbing vision of 3 boys being stalked at a winter camp called Alpine Lake. This is up, and I was watching interviews. They actually filmed at a real camp. It's not Alpine Lake. I don't think it was in Colorado, but it was a real camp that they filmed at and everything, because there's parts of the movie where I was like, this looks like a scene set up, but nope, they actually did it. And now, fun fact, Miguel Mora, who played Robin in the first movie, is in the second movie where he plays Ernesto, his brother.
I didn't realize that at all. Brielle told me that, and then I looked it up.
I didn't realize it either. Right. Yeah, he played his brother. That's cool.
Yeah.
So let's kind of talk about it. So this movie focuses more on his sister this time around. So this movie's more on Gwen starts to have these dreams. And obviously the movie also starts with Finn beating the life out of some kid, because everybody asks him about the serial killer and if it's really him. And he beats him up because seeing their own blood and all this other stuff. But
what was like a quote from Robin?
Yeah.
In the first movie.
Yeah. But this is very focused on Gwen. And this one really goes into the supernatural side of things. They go to this Christian camp because it turns out that also there is a connection there with their mom. So the mom's also another heavy focus, where we learned that the grabber worked at this camp, back when it first opened up, and the mom was working 50s. There. And the mom had this gift. So the mom picks up the phone. There's a cool connection we'll get to here. And it turns out the grabber ends up killing these 3 kids who were his victims. And now his spirit went to hell and removed any sense of good from him, and he kind of talks about that in this movie, and he's just left with like the anger and the rage. And so he's essentially tied to this camp that has had spiritual happenings going on to it since he died in real life. So his spirit got trapped there because that's where it started, and now he's kind of lured them there through Gwen's dreams with the kids.
Revenge for being forced to kill his brother.
Yeah.
So that's why he's going after the sister.
Yes, he wants to hurt Finney in every way possible, essentially. And it's really cool for such a small cast. There's the 3 of them, so Ernesto, Gwen, and Finn, which I thought there was Duran tickets and Far Out. That was funny.
I like I don't remember what the one guy's name was, the older guy, the Hispanic older dude who like
Mondo.
Yeah. So it's funny because when he's like, oh, is that the devil's lettuce, when the kid was smoking weed?
It's not even good shit.
Right. Which I thought was so fantastic, because he was in the show Weeds, and he ran like the whole like weed game in Mexico.
Okay.
And so I thought that was
that's cool.
I don't know if that was an intentional nod. I mean, weed's very common, but I just thought that was funny. I whispered over to Brielle, and like, when he was acting all like, oh, that's a devil's lettuce, I'm like, he sold weed in a show called Weeds.
And then to be like, it's not even good shit. And he walks away because Finn, it's funny how they paint Finn essentially as he's addicted to the marijuanas because it helps him forget. And
I think they were
trauma. There was no
numbing
therapy
his
in the
pain
80s.
at this point. That's true.
Dude,
but
kid was abducted and then killed somebody. Yeah.
But he's doing what his dad did. He's numbing the pain. And it's like, there's certain pains you have to feel or you'll never move forward. But we
also have, I don't know the 2 Christian couples names, but God, I hated those 2 who also ran the camp like Mondo.
Tool. The wife was a freaking.
The wife was some like one of those those religious nutcases, essentially.
Just to act better than everybody, yeah.
Fun fact. So there is a character, as I'm looking at this, his name. So James Ransone plays Max in this. He is very familiar to me, and I'm trying to
Yeah, he's
figure
in a
out
bunch of
why.
stuff, isn't he? Oh.
He is. So he's in Poker Face, VHS 85, Seals.
Oh, you've seen the
He's
VHS
in
stuff.
It Chapter 2. That's why. He plays Eddie in It Chapter 2. That's why he was familiar to me. So he plays Max. Yes. He was very familiar, and it turns out there's a reason for that. So yeah, anyways, things culminate. They have to find the kids' bodies so that way they can essentially vanquish the grabber's spirit.
Because the kids keep saying, like, we're not supposed to be here. We're not supposed to be here.
Yeah. And so they do. There's a really cool scene that takes place on the lake as they're finding that between Gwen and Finney. Once again, beats the shit out of the grabber, except for it's kind of more spiritual. And it's a really, really cool, intense sequence. And then they end up vanquishing it. The dad sees everything that goes on. He kind of gets a glimpse into like everything. And then it's happily ever after at that point because the credits kind of roll. The
dad was trying throughout the movie. You see, he's sober now and even says, I'm about to get my
weird
few years shift.
Token. Yeah.
Well, he's an awkward dude, man. I think he was in the show Lost.
He just is. He has an awkward haircut and he's an awkward dude. The guy, listen, he went
he's
through
a single dad now. Yeah, he's been through a lot.
I did not
he is trying
to be as supernatural-esque. So, all right. I didn't mean to cut you off. I apologize. But they marketed this movie as though it was going to be another Nightmare on Elm Street. And when I watched this movie, it wasn't Nightmare on Elm Street at all. It was more of like an episode of Supernatural to me because they're trying to appease the spirits to get rid of the malevolent being. And it's two siblings that are trying to do this. And I got, hey, this is like Supernatural to me over Nightmare on Elm Street. And I thought that was really cool. And I thought the movie was really, really well done. The grabber they built him up to be even more terrifying in this movie. I feel like at the same time, there was no niceties about him.
He has more like power in this and more rules in this.
Yeah. And like the things that they did again with the mask, like there's parts where the mask is on, mask is off. Then he's got Gwen in the dream showing that he was the one that murdered their mom because the mom had a dream and found out that he was killing kids. And so he ended up.
She went to confirm it.
Yeah. Stupid. First of all, stupid. Like, call it.
I mean, the little girl did the same thing and she did the exact same thing. Because they think they're going crazy. They're like, I need to see if this is real or am I just going crazy? And if she had completely ignored the dream, she would have hated herself when she found out that it was real.
Fair.
But she can't just go to the detectives and be like, I had a dream. Like she needed concrete proof.
I would have made, I don't know. You're right. But then she parked in she parked in his driveway. She wasn't smart. She parked in his driveway. Right, Park up the street and sneak up, you dummy, because if somebody's pulling in my driveway, the headlights are going to give you away, you dumbass.
That's true.
And then, he made it look like she hung herself at the end, okay? So that's...
Which I feel like there had to have been defensive wounds, but maybe they didn't do an autopsy or...
He knocked her out, though, right away, remember? I don't... And it's the 80s.
That would have been a defensive wound right there. If he had knocked her out, she would have had a bruise or something. You don't get knocked out.
Man, okay?
I don't know how the corners are or whatever, the morgue... I don't know, whatever. But you know what's funny?
It was the 80s and she hung herself in the garage to them, so it was, I'm going to take a page out of Commissioner Gordon and Batman and Robin. Suicide. Definitely suicide.
But the first one was kind of like the opposite of a supernatural episode because the ghosts were trying to talk to the human to stop the human.
Yeah, and this one leaned into it.
Do see that though with trying to get released to help me fight this thing and release my spirit.
You say that you would love to know why he is, but there doesn't seem to be a reason. He just started killing because he was the grabber was working at the camp. Like there doesn't really seem to be rhyme or reason. I don't know. He's just a psychopath.
But I feel like the fact that I wrote in here that I would have, because it was funny, as I actually said to Briella, like I would like a prequel for how he became evil. And this sequel was a lot like a prequel as well.
It did tie the past in very well.
Yes. But the thing I want to know is like, okay, Ethan Hawke's character, the grabber, has specific rules, naughty boy rules. This seems like, and the brother's constantly coked up. So this seems like they're both dealing with childhood trauma in different ways. So what happened to him growing up that made him want to work at this church camp and murder these 3 little boys? And then, and he's not doing anything like he's just physically abusing them. And all these kids too were saying like, he didn't kill me quick. He tortures them.
That is a good point because in the flashbacks when he's killing the kids in the forest, it's just a quick chopping the face off or violent ways for no reason. He burned the kid. Yeah, it was interesting to see that. And I mean, I don't want a prequel just watching him kill kids because we know he doesn't get defeated in the end.
No, but it's like I feel like he must have been. I would assume he was abused by his father. That would be my guess.
That would be my guess. There, because most serial
Or a crazy
killers
ass mom.
do have some sort of,
trauma.
Yeah, there's some sort of abuse that goes on in life. So I see what you're saying. I do see what you're saying at this point. That is interesting. And then what happened with the brother who's on drugs? So there had to have been the brother's on drugs, and the brother's on drugs trying to find the missing kids, and then
he's trying to save kids he doesn't even know. And
there has to have been some past trauma. That's a really good point, because the one's trying to save the kids, and then obviously
it's like you either continue the cycle or you break the cycle. It seems like when you have
that's a good point.
Trauma happen to you.
That is a really good point.
One of the things I thought was cool about this, I feel like you got so many nods to other horror movies. Like in the Pennywise is powered by the fear of the kids, and once the kids aren't scared of him anymore, it's like he can't control his power.
Yeah.
Jason drowns in a lake. Obviously, these kids are all, were sunk in a lake, or their bodies were dropped in a lake. Obviously, the Freddy Krueger thing is very obvious with the killing you in your dreams and stuff.
Right. And then also, and Freddy loses his power when he gets brought to real life again, because, he is vulnerable at that point. So he kind of loses that dream power, because in the dreams he can do anything to you, but coming out in real life, he loses all of that. So
not the grabber, though. He's still powerful outside of the dream. I feel like that's right. Where they can't do anything.
That's what I liked about this too, is it wasn't just a dream world where people were like, how do we fight back? Because they could physically fight the grabber, and then the grabber physically was hurting them. And I thought their scenes were cool where they show up in the cabin and Gwen's getting tossed around, and it's like, oh, we can see now. And then Mondo, instead of, the two religious nuts, whatever, but Mondo and, Mustang, they go quick work to start helping. And it turns out Mondo has been looking for those kids forever too. And I thought that was a really cool tie-in. And they do a great job of not discrediting the kids, I feel like. And I thought just all the characters were really well written, versus nobody was truly frustrating aside from the two that I feel like the grabber should have killed when they were on the lake. I wish they got killed, but they didn't. Fine.
Nobody died.
No, that's what. Yeah, no, aside from the 3 kids that were dead, nobody dies in this movie. But they still do a great job. I saw
the ground, nobody died. Because my first thought was they better not kill Ernie. That poor mother cannot lose. I thought
Ernie was cooked because first of all, Ernie's the only kid left. It's him and his mom. And Ernie he's
Mondo
he's in love with Gwen, or likes Gwen, their boyfriend, girlfriend. He's set up to be cooked from the start.
That was so funny when he's like, I think you're pretty, whatever. And he's like, do you think I'm beautiful? That is 100% something like my brother has done when I was in high school or middle school or something. 100%.
Or the part where Gwen's like, or you talk to Jesus, where he goes, you talk to Jesus? And I thought for some reason that line to me was so funny. She was like, yeah. And he was, I think
she curses at Jesus.
Yeah. She
talks to Jesus like she was talking to a friend.
And I do like that though. It's an interesting relationship, because she's spiritual and supernatural, but she also believes in Jesus and God. And she asks, not that I necessarily believe, but I thought that was an interesting thing that they do with her, is continue to lean into her religious faith while she has these abilities that she's still learning about.
Well, it's similar to Supernatural, in the earlier seasons before they meet angels, when Sam says to Dean, how can you not believe in angels when we've literally met demons? How can you think there's not another side? That's a good point, actually. Of course, his argument is how could God let this happen? So you have that argument too, but then you just
how do they live a normal life after this too? At this point, I guess the grabber's gone, but she has these abilities. So I would almost like a buddy cop film where Ernesto, Finney, and Gwen are just traveling the United States, finding serial killers and killing
maybe
them.
In a '67 Chevy Impala.
I don't know. Maybe.
Well, I thought that was cool too. They set it up for her to have the next movie, because also Finney was hearing the disconnected phones ring, and nobody else was.
He picks him up. Yeah, he picks him up randomly all the time.
And always says, sorry, I can't help, and hangs up. And nobody else was hearing those. And then at the end, because she was only hearing it in her dream, at the end, she's hearing it. And Finney's like, well, it's for you then.
Yeah.
So I feel like he was handing her I'm out. You have this gift. I can't really do much other than talking or answering the phone, and now he can't hear the phone anymore, and she can't.
That's why I feel like they set it up for. But it was their mom this time, because there was a connection between the mom, and then the mom says, "Oh," and tell Finney Robin says hi.
Yeah,
that was sad.
But when she tells her it's not a curse, it's a gift, I feel like that was also setting it up for her to do more.
I would watch a series. I mean, you don't go, it's not Black Phone 3 because, oh, it could be, I guess. He's just not about the grabber. But I feel like Black Phone 1 and 2, it's the grabber is such an integral part to it that I don't think you can call it Black Phone, but maybe you can. I don't know. I would continue watching these people operate in this universe without a doubt. Just me personally.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Got a lot of potential.
As we kind of wrap up on this though, what's your overall grade?
Oh my goodness gracious.
I give it a 4.5. Only
I was gonna say 8 out of 10, 8.5 out of 10.
Okay.
So
I can go with that. That's fair. Yeah, I 4.5 out of 5 stars. I did for letterboxed reasons. I don't know because I'm weird, but yeah, no, this movie's really good. I didn't have any really complaints much about it. It's a very, very good movie. Go see it. If you haven't and you listened to this whole thing and we just spoiled it for you, I'm not sorry because you stayed, but thank you for listening to our podcast nonetheless. I really appreciate that. Go celebrate Halloween this coming Friday and get out there, watch some scary movies. Let us know what's up. It is, we're about to be in November. It's weird. Really weird. We got to get our life together. If you saw us at the comic book shop yesterday in the past, future when I'm recording this, I love playing with time. Let us know what you loved about the comic, what your favorite horror comic book is. I don't know how we're going to cap off Halloween season. We'll let you know perhaps. And then check out.
We're going to do it live. We just don't know if we have time. Especially with your crazy ass schedule.
Oh, God, somebody make us famous so I don't have to continuously work 4 a.m. to 4 p.m. Thank you guys. Thank you. But yes, join us on the Discord or join me at least on Friday night, Halloween night. If you have nowhere to go at like 10, 11 o'clock at night, we're just going to be vibing, man. Vibing, horror movies, capping off Halloween. And then thanks everybody for the support. Hopsgeek News is where you can find us. We will see you guys again very soon. Cheers, everybody out there. And don't answer any weird black phones. Trust me, you don't want no part of that shit, Rick.